Hello, I'm Craig Smith from Minerva Elite Performance, joined by my friend and colleague.
Andrew Arkley, founder and director of PurpleCV.
This is our series on joining Civvy Street, top career tips now you're getting out. We've just covered education as a differentiator, so what leaving the armed forces actually means, and we're now going to look at succinct information, top 5 tips for CVs, applications, and online profiles. So, Andrew, we're going to keep this one a bit like a fast-paced episode, if you will, because we're going to keep it nice and short and sweet. If we're going to summarize advice to people, if we're giving them the elevator pitch, for example, what would we do? So, what is a simplified, must-remember list of essentials that people need to know when they are CV writing, applying for jobs, and digital profiles? And you're only allowed 5. So just tell them what it is and why it's important.
Yeah, so first one is tailor every application to the specific role and organization. And we want to do that because recruiters, when they open up your CV, they're going to want to see that synergy between the job that you've applied for and your CV. And if that synergy is not there, you're going to be put to the bottom of the pile. So without fail, make sure every application is tailored. And also from a motivation point of view, you would much prefer to be successful at 10 applications than fire off 200 applications that you get no response on because they're generic. So make sure you tailor it. It's going to increase your chances dramatically. If you're using AI, it's very, very important to consider the negatives of this as well, because AI nowadays, or certainly within the recruitment process, is becoming renowned for generating generic content. Writing your CV should be a very iterative process. It shouldn't be just about dumping into AI, create me a CV for XYZ. It should be an iterative process with prompts that are based on specifically your experience, your credentials. And AI does struggle with that. It can produce content, but what it can't produce is narrative throughout your CV. What's your career story? What's your story? And AI does, in my opinion, does a very poor job of this. We want our CV to be unique because by being unique, it means that we stand out from the crowd. If you go onto LinkedIn and look at all the recruiters nowadays, many of them are talking about how the recruitment process is becoming so much harder because of the advent of AI, both from a recruitment point of view, but also from a candidate point of view. Candidates, to some degree nowadays, have the power. They have the power to produce a credible CV, but the negative of that is a CV that's generic, and generic CVs don't get anywhere. Next tip is focus on outcomes, achievements, and measurable impact. So when you're writing your responsibilities or writing your experience, making sure that we demonstrate the impact and the value that we're going to deliver to that prospective employer. And a way that we can deliver that value and show that value is by quantifying any achievements that we have. So rather than just saying I decrease costs by implementing this process, try and put the number in there if you can. So whether that's a percentage or pounds or pennies, this just quantifies it, and it delivers so much more value because that prospective employer is going to be able to translate that to the role that you've applied for. So if you decrease costs by 20% for a particular role that you previously had, that employer is going to be able to apply that 20% to their role, and therefore they can quantify that value in their head. Number 3, use consistent messaging across CV and LinkedIn and your applications. I mentioned earlier in another snippet that we did that around 70% of recruiters are going to look at your LinkedIn profile, and if there's a mismatch there between your profile and between your CV, this is going to be a potential red flag. So make sure that your application, the whole ecosystem of what you're applying with, your CV, your cover letter, everything else, is all matching. That's really important. 4th point, ensure clarity and simplicity and professionalism in all your content. And I guess just to add to that as well, given why we're here today, which is helping people who are ex-military going into the Civvy Street, making sure that acronyms and jargon are fully explained where needed, and making sure that we understand that the reader is probably not going to understand those 3-letter acronyms or whatever. So we need to explain them where possible. And lastly, really, teaching you how to suck eggs here, but make sure you proofread thoroughly, making sure there's no spelling or grammar mistakes. So take that extra little bit of time just to reread your CV, and always try and get someone close to you to read over that CV, because you go a bit word blind when you spend 2, 3, 4 hours on your CV. By the end of it, you get to a point where your mind is kind of filling in the gaps for you. So you want to make sure that any gaps or any mistakes that you've made are potentially picked up by someone close to you. So just ask your friend or family to read over that CV and to give their opinion, especially on any mistakes. So 5 tips there for you, and I'm hoping they help you.
So to summarize, these are Andrew's 5 tips, which I think were fantastic. Tailor that CV. Make sure the reader knows that you've written it for the role you're applying for. Number 2, focus on outcomes and impact. Number 3, consistent messaging across all your platforms. Number 4, clarity and simplicity, and be professional. And the last one, and I think it's really simple but poignant, proofread it. Don't fail on the simple things. And those are Andrew's top tips, and I concur. So Andrew, thank you so much for that. I really appreciate it. And in the next episode, we're going to be looking at the same 5 top tips methodology, but around maximizing opportunity through LCAS funding and education. Thank you.
Thank you.